Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast number 160. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the evening of Thursday, February the 20th, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. About a week ago, actually more than a week ago, it was all of last week, I took a trip in Wisconsin and in Minnesota, in the frozen north. And I drove 1,000 miles in the car, a little over 1,000 miles in the car. And so I was a lot of time behind the wheel. And talk radio gets old real quick. It seems like talk radio anymore, it's just, I hate Trump, I love Trump. And you can only say that so many times and hold my interest. So I was able to find a lot of music stations, okay? So I listened to a lot of music last week on the radio. I enjoyed it. A lot of songs I heard that I had not heard in a long time. And when I was listening to these songs, quite a few of them, I said, wow, I never really listened to the lyrics of those songs. And this isn't a sweet, lovable, smiley song. This song is kind of nasty and a lot of times really nasty. So I did some research and I found a handful of songs, about 20, 25 songs, rock and roll songs, most of them older. Okay. My genre, some from the 60s, mainly 70s, 80s into the 90s. Type of classic rock songs that many of you had no idea had nasty lyrics, okay? And that's what I'm going to do the podcast on, just a group of rock and roll songs that I've stumbled upon that just have disgusting lyrics. Sometimes they're nasty, sometimes they're taboo, sometimes they're verboten. And sometimes you may have known that this song was certainly about that, but maybe you didn't, okay? Now, one thing about rock and roll, and I'm a big fan of rock and roll, is rock and roll did change music, okay? The beat, sure, but the lyrics too. I mean, once upon a time, things were about sunny skies and children and love and that type of thing, okay? But rock and roll was about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, okay? A lot of it was. Sure, there's a lot of love songs. There's a lot of happy songs, but there's a lot of songs that really just aren't. Music in general has always been a vehicle for one of my favorite pieces of the language, and that's the double entendre. In other words, it says one thing, but there's a second meaning that's really a whole lot different. And if you listen closely, you know that the person was saying something they couldn't say, but they said something they couldn't say, but they said it anyway in a way that was kind of acceptable. In other words, they would always backtrack. So, I didn't mean that. You must be a pervert to think I meant that. But a lot of rock songs have the double entendre. Okay. A lot of music always has, but rock and roll in particular. Okay. And often you really can't understand the actual lyrics because of the inflection of the word. The accent was put in a different place because that's when the beat hit harder. The accent of the singer, perhaps he was British or European or Latin. You can't understand him, okay? An example, there's a Pete Townsend song I just heard today, Let My Love In. Good song, fine song, nothing nasty about it. But it doesn't sound like he's saying let my love in. It sounds like he's saying let Milo in. Listen to the song. It sounds like he's saying let Milo in. Milo was my wife's cat, so I thought that was funny. But again, a lot of times you don't really know what they're saying. And when you sing along, you kind of say, blah, 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 you kind of just mumble the words because you're really not sure what they're saying, okay? But I'm not talking about the down and dirty, nasty, taboo, socially wrong lyrics that are in some songs, in some rock songs. And music, blues, for instance. Blues has always had nasty lyrics. That's just kind of what the blues were all about, or some of the blues, I should say. The lyrics for the blues were always a bit different. So there were a handful of blues songs, quite a few actually, where they didn't even try to play the double entendre. They flat out said it. A couple examples. a song called Warm My Wiener. Yep, that's exactly what they're talking about, folks. Some guy liking to warm his wiener in his girl. Black Betty. There was a rock group that picked up that old blues song and played that song as a pop hit not too long ago. Well, probably 30, 40 years ago, but not too terribly long ago, okay? But the blues has always been that way. And rap is actually, some of the lyrics of rap music are so shocking that they don't even shock anymore. The biggest example, and I mentioned this on my radio show once upon a time, is a guy named Trinidad James, All Gold Everything. I think I counted it. He dropped the M-bomb, I think 127 times in that song, okay? So you almost become immune to the song, to the words in the song, I guess I should say, okay? But many rock songs that you like that are sung at weddings, they're sung at weddings and school dances and at home with the kids within earshot, certainly over the public airwaves, have nasty, taboo lyrics. Maybe you know about this. Maybe you don't. I bet you do with some. I bet you don't with others. But I've compiled a list of about 25 songs that I'm going to go ahead and review here and just talk about where the lyrics are and what they actually said and what they actually meant according to the person that wrote them. I mean, that's a pretty good indicator as to what you and I can debate what it meant all day long. But when the person who wrote the song said, you know what, this is kind of what I meant, that's kind of the final boss, isn't it? The final answer. The first one, the Rolling Stones had a song called The Midnight Rambler, okay? A lot of Rolling Stone lyrics are tough to understand. This one kind of. But some of the words in the Midnight Rambler are, I'm called the hit-and-run raper of anger, the knife-sharpened tiptoe, or just the shoot-'em-dead brain bell jangler. This song was written as the biography of Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler who killed 13 women in the 1960s. That's what the Midnight Rambler's about, folks. The Police, Every Breath You Take. What a nice song. It's just a nice song. Every night you stay, I'll be watching you. Oh, you can't see that you belong to me. Sting confessed the song is it's about a stalker. It's not about a man who's admiring the woman he loves. It's a man watching a woman from afar and probably doing something that we don't want to talk about. Again, the guy that wrote this, Sting, admitted that's what the song's about. It's about a stalker. It's not about love. Bryan Adams, Bryan Adams, The Summer of '69. That's a great song. I mean, he wrote the song because he had a friend named Brody. And he bet Brody bet him he couldn't write a song with 69 in the title. So Adams wrote a song called The Summer of '69. And it makes sense because Adams couldn't have been talking about his life and love because he was 10 years old in 1969. So yeah, Bryan Adams wrote a song called The Summer of '69 because he was just a sophomoric man and a buddy bet him he couldn't put the word 69 in the title of a song. He did. And it was a huge hit. The Knack, My Sharona. Vocalist Doug Feigler admitted that the song had been written about his pining for a 17-year-old girl named Sharona Alperin, despite being 7 years her senior. So here's a 17-year-old girl being admired by a 24-year-old man. Never going to stop. Give it up. Such a dirty mind. I always get it up for the touch of the younger kind. Talking about a 17-year-old girl here in My Sharona. How many times have you sung that song, folks? Did you know that's what it was all about? A real obvious one, a super obvious one. There's no double entendre here. There's no dual meanings. Jethro Tull, Aqualung. The hit wastes no time getting creepy from the opening lyrics. The song opens up with, sitting on a park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent, snots running down his nose, greasy fingers smearing shabby clothes. Pretty disgusting, but they're not trying to hide anything there. You have the picture of old Aqualung in your head after the first stanza is sung. Big hit for Aerosmith, Walk This Way. Steven Tyler's sleazy lyrics are about a high school boy losing his virginity in ways that are even dirtier than you think. Now, the thing about Steven Tyler songs, it's hard to understand because he screams. I mean, he has a great voice, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to really understand what he said. So I'll break down some of these lyrics for you from Walk This Way. I met a cheerleader, was a real bleeder. All the times I can reminisce, all the best lovin' with her sister and her cousin. I met a cheerleader. She was a real young bleeder. That's Walk This Way, folks. I'd never heard it in the lyrics. Maybe you have. George Michael from Wham. The late pop star said that the song Father Figure, he says it wasn't about inappropriate age relations. So he denied it was. But check out these lyrics. Put your tiny hand in mine. I'd love to. I will be your preacher, teacher, be your daddy, anything you have in mind. Now here's a case with a guy who wrote the song said, oh, no, there's nothing to see here. Move along. But those lyrics are kind of undeniable, okay? Put your tiny hand in mine, I'd love to. I will be your preacher, teacher, be your daddy, anything you have in mind. Wow. Billy Joel, Only the Good Die Young. Always played at weddings. Always played all kinds of places, okay? You can basically pick a verse, any verse in this big hit for Billy Joel, and it's clear that the lyrics are about a guy pressuring a young girl to give up her virginity. You got a nice white dress and a party on your confirmation, but Virginia, they didn't give you quite enough information. You didn't count on me. Talk about the Me Too, no means no era. I don't know that song could have been written today, but it was back then. I guess in the 80s, probably I think 1980s. Okay. But then you think of guys like Billy Joel and George Michael and Mick Jagger. Okay, these guys are going to write stuff like that. What about Neil Diamond? Okay, Neil Diamond. You know what? He's your parents listen to Neil Diamond. Your grandparents. He's a nice guy, a nice Jewish boy. He wouldn't have any nasty songs, would he? He has a song called Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. And basically, Neil Diamond is singing about a guy who claims to be misunderstood for wanting to deflower a young girl. Here's the lyrics. Be the judge yourself. Please come take my hand. Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Soon, you'll need a man. Well, if girl, you'll be a woman soon, that kind of tells me she's underage now because she's not of age yet. Good old Neil Diamond. Loved him in the jazz singer. Here's one that everybody knows. Again, this is kind of like the other song we were talking about, the Aqualung. ZZ Top, Pearl Necklace. And Billy Gibbons, he's the vocalist in the group for this song, sings of a girl wanting a pearl necklace while also revealing the lyrics to be a double entendre for a sex act. So he admits it. We didn't know it. She was getting bombed and I was getting blown away. And that's not jewelry we're talking about. It really doesn't cost that much. Yeah, Billy Gibbons admitted it was a double entendre. We never knew. Now did we? Ted Nugent, The Motor City Madman has a song called Jailbait.